Again, the same thing happens with a Coca-Cola investment. We make some losses. However, let's say, for example, some clever people design a vaccine for the coronavirus. As a result of that, me and you guys, we decide that we want to go on overseas holidays. So we book our flights with Qantas. That increases their sales, their profits, and their share price. And if we invested in Qantas, we would make money, which is good. So in essence, what diversification allows us to do in this second investment is that the gains from Qantas offset our losses from Coca-Cola. And so diversification allows us to reduce our risk from investing in just one single asset or investment. Okay, so diversification was the second key thing I wanted to introduce you to. And as we're going along the way, if you have any questions, just pop them into the chat. Hopefully, if the chat's not going gangbusters, I can sort of see what your question is and get to you. Otherwise, I'll try and get back to your question after the lecture's finished. Okay, so the third thing I wanted to introduce you to was arbitrage. So I'm going to refer to Maya, and Maya has the trading symbol MYR on the stock exchange. And if you haven't heard of Maya before, Maya is one of the major department stores in Australia. Okay, so we'll talk more about Maya later. So we'll talk more about these other features of Maya shortly. But in order to understand arbitrage, I'm just gonna, it's a little bit more complicated. I'll just give you a simple example. Okay, so say for example, Maya is selling Game of Thrones Season 8 on Blu-ray for $20. Okay, I don't know if you guys have seen Game of Thrones Season 8, but it's pretty crappy, I think, it's a pretty poor ending in my sort of point of view. So Maya is selling Game of Thrones Season 8, and Jason agrees with me. So Maya is selling Game of Thrones Season 8 on Blu-ray for $20. You've noticed that on Amazon, the last 20 copies have sold for $40. So what you could do is you could buy from Maya, sell on Amazon. So buy on Maya for 20, sell on Amazon for 40, and you can make $20 risk-free money. Okay, so arbitrage is a very important finance concept. We're not going to talk about it too much in this course, but you'll learn more about that in the finance major and so forth. And Christian agrees too with the Game of Thrones ending. Okay, so just some reasons as to why you might want to study finance. So I see there's a few questions in the chat. I'll get back to those later. And just one relating to the slides. So I can pop these slides relating to this orientation class up later. After we go through the orientation class, we're going to go through a quick recap of lecture 1. Okay, so those slides are already available on UTS Online already. So why would you want to study finance? Okay, so there are a number of reasons why you might want to study finance. So a lot of you might think that studying finance is only for bankers, but I'll give you a bunch of reasons as to why it's relevant to you already. Okay, so some of you guys might want to run your own business. Okay, you might be doing that already. You might want to do this after you finish uni. So maybe one of you guys will come up with the next Facebook, GoPro, LinkedIn, and so forth. Okay. It turns out that there are heaps of jobs available to you if you want to study finance. There's heaps of exciting career paths, and most of them actually involve you making lots of money. So if you want to make lots of money to buy flashy cars, flashy houses, or even earn money so you can help other people, then a career in finance might be a good choice for you. Now, so what are some of the career options that are available to you? Well, one thing you could be is that you could be a stockbroker or a financial advisor. So you could advise your clients and your customers on what kind of investments that they want to make. And you could work for an investment bank such as JP Morgan, Macquarie Bank, and so forth. Another thing you could do is you could be a portfolio manager. So this is when you pull people's money together. So for example, let's say I pull all of your money together, I put it into one big bucket and I invest it on your behalf. So this is typically what superannuation funds do. And we're going to talk more about superannuation next week, but this is basically helping you to save money for your retirement. You could also be a management consultant. This is something that I consider doing. It's quite interesting because you get to advise companies on their business strategy. So for example, in this world of healthy eating and healthy lifestyles, how do McDonald's and Coca-Cola increase their sales, their profits, and their share price? Okay, that's the kind of thing a management consultant would do. Another thing you could do is think of any company that you like. Yeah, Ferrari, could be Louis Vuitton, it could be McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and so forth. You could work for them in their finance department. Okay, so you'd be in charge of doing things like financial statements, managing cash, managing credit, advising on strategy and things like that. You could work for the government in the Reserve Bank of Australia doing financial analysis to shape economic policy. And you could also be an academic like me if you wanted to teach and research on issues that are relevant to you. Okay, and I'll just see a few questions in the chat here. I'll respond to some of those later. In response to Kieran, we will touch upon the assessment shortly. Okay, some of your other questions require a little bit more time, so we'll get back to that shortly. Another thing why you might want to study finance is so you can understand what's happening in the news. So for example, we have coronavirus right now, or COVID-19, that's having an impact on everything and anything. So it's also having a large impact on the financial markets and all of those types of things. So understanding finance will help you to understand what's happening in the news. And lastly, personally, okay, finance affects everyone and it will have a large impact on your lifestyle. Okay, understanding finance will help you make better financial decisions. That could be relating to your investments in your savings accounts, property in the future, shares in the future. It'll help you understand mortgages so you can buy your first house. And it will help you understand your superannuation decision, which is really, really important to get right now so it pays off later. And sorry, I'm just popping back to the chat here for a sec. So basically, in response to Himanshu, all of the students are listed as attendees and all of the panelists are me. So I'm the only panelist. So if you're replying to all panelists and all attendees, you should be able to see everything that's going on in the chat. Let me know if that answers your question. Okay, so there's no other chat happening. It's just the one that's with all panelists and attendees. Okay, so I just want to reiterate some things about the classes that we're running for this subject because it's a bit of a unique situation. So as you know, we've got Corona or the coronavirus floating around. So unfortunately, we're not going to be fully back on campus for spring 2020. So this is to ensure we adhere with the Australian government's protocols and guidelines. So I just want to assure you that there is no requirement for you to go to UTS campus if you do not want to, or if you're not able to. Okay, I understand that there's risks of the coronavirus. So if you don't want to go, you don't have to. Okay, so this is the way that we're going to do the lectures. So there will be no on-campus lectures to minimize lots of people going to campus. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a live Zoom class on Thursdays at 1:30 p.m. So this is the class. This is the live Zoom class that we're going to have. And what we're primarily going to focus on is that in these Zoom classes is we're going to look at a summary of the key content. We're going to focus on relating things to the real world, and we'll do some additional examples. So in response to Aidan's question, I'll get to Aidan's question in a second. So in addition to the online Zoom classes that we're doing now, these will be recorded and put on UTS Online so you can watch it later. In addition to that, we have pre-recordings of the lecture slides. They're available on UTS Online every week. They will become available on UTS Online roughly 5 days prior to the live Zoom class. And it is advised that you watch those pre-recordings prior to coming to the Zoom class. So I won't ask how many of you guys have done that for lecture 1, but the lecture 1 pre-recordings are available on UTS Online already. Okay, regarding to Darcy's question, all subjects are doing their own thing. So what I'm telling you now applies to FBF only. I'm not sure if that applies to all the other subjects, unfortunately. Okay, so that's how the lectures are going to run. With the tutorials, we're going to have both on campus and online tutorial classes which start next week. Okay, so with the online tutorial classes, they will be on Thursdays and Fridays. They'll be live on Zoom, and I'll post up the Zoom links to these classes before next week's class so you know where to go. And the recordings of one of those classes will be posted on UTS Online every week. Okay, so if you can't attend, you can watch the recording. In addition to that, we will have on-campus tutorial classes. They're held on Thursdays and Fridays at UTS as well. So due to social distancing protocols and things like that, and requirements to take attendance for contact tracing reasons, we have a limited number of spaces in those classes still available. So please only attend the on-campus tutorials if you're enrolled in those tutorials. Just in case something happens relating to someone getting coronavirus or something like that, or having it, we just really want to know who's on campus so we can correctly manage the situation. Okay, I think there's still some spaces left on those on-campus tutorials. So if you want to attend, make sure you enroll in those on the UTS platform. Again, just note the online tutorials and the on-campus tutorials are similar. They cover the same content, so it's really up to you which one you prefer. So that gives you a little bit more flexibility. And just note that if the Australian government decides that all classes need to be online, we may have to make all lectures and tutorials online, but we'll deal with that when we get to that. So just quickly, Patrick, regarding your question about lecture recordings,